welcome back to the 2Industry podcast. Again, my name is Hill. This is Mike Games and Andrick on our far right. We just got through talking about Facebook buying Oculus Rift and will VR actually be a thing, like a permanent thing, and will it be successful? So go back and check those videos out. Now we're going to talk about multiplayer only games and will they be successful in the future. And the reason why we bring that up is because we have games like Titanfall out.
Titanfall's a game changer. It really is. But it should be said, games have done this before.
Right.
There have been just games only, PC games usually, that have just come out and just been multiplayer.
But as your like leading game breaker game, like your leading game that actually will sell console units
Right. That actually hasn't.
with no storyline, no campaign.
Well, it has a campaign,
Well,
but
you
it's pretty weak. But it's an interesting idea, and hopefully they elaborate it a little bit more later on, with I guess Titanfall 2. But it does some really good things. I mean, by now I'm sure you've heard of the game. It's based on the Toyota truck, Titan.
so what you do is drive around Titan trucks down in Dallas, Texas, and wear a very obnoxious cowboy hat.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
just cut people off left and right. That's it.
That's the whole game. That's the campaign. What do you think about that whole concept so far, Mike?
I mean, well, for Titanfall, it didn't appeal to me because one, it's a first-person shooter, and being able to go online and just play a multiplayer-only game, that's a first-person shooter. I was just like, eh.
You know
I
what to do
mean,
with it?
I don't play first-person shooters. I would never go online and play a first-person shooter because I know I suck at first-person shooters because I never play it. So I was like, well,
Okay.
I'm always gonna die.
Okay, so let's put it in another capacity. Let's say if it was Dead Rising, where it was only multiplayer online, and you had to collaborate with other people to go and kill zombies. Or hell, like,
That is Dead Rising.
Yeah. Dead Rising 3 had that people could just jump into your game and start.
well, I mean, like that's the only type, the only game. Like you can only go online. You can't play single player.
See, I guess I wouldn't mind that, but the whole first-person shooter, I think just shooters in general, I would like a campaign.
Okay. All right, so you would rather have a campaign, so
I'm-
something to play through.
Yeah, I was actually interested in maybe picking up Titanfall, and then I heard it didn't have a campaign. It was just multiplayer only. Like, I don't know.
To be honest, you're probably like the only first-person shooter fan that was like, "Oh, this doesn't have a campaign." I don't.
Well, I'm not a
Really?
person.
I'm the second one. I'm one of those people. I don't pick up Call of Duty or anything else and just go right into multiplayer like a lot of people do.
But what
I play the campaign first and then I go into multiplayer. Maybe I'll try a couple matches.
I'm the same way, but we're also
So three of us.
You're right, but we're also over the age of 30. So that's the thing.
Hey, speak for yourself.
So here's the
Some
thing.
of us are 50.
So here's the thing: is like the multiplayer is the moneymaker. Okay, of the industry. It's probably like the highest moneymaker if you broke it down to all the genres.
It's true.
It
Oh,
did sell. It did boost up the Xbox One sales. And
Right.
after Titanfall came
Like
out,
by
it just-
itself.
But
yeah.
It was ridiculous.
let's put that in perspective there. The reason that it boosted the sales was because the price point was still the same with
Well, that's true.
Titanfall.
That's true. That's fair. That is definitely.
It's not like you had to buy a $500 system.
It was
and
a
then
marketing-
$60 game.
It was a marketing plan.
They
right?
totally gave you the game. I feel like I got ripped off. They should have given me that game for free. Fuck you, Xbox.
But I mean, that's the thing though. Is like, will companies start doing this? Like, will more and more companies start making just online only games where there's no campaign?
I do feel that like with Call of Duty, Battlefield.
So like, what if Call of Duty came out with
yeah,
a game and just said,
and
"Fuck
that's
it,
pretty
no
much
online"?
it. Like, I mean, there are a lot of people online. Like, if you look at what they play on Call of Duty, they haven't even touched the campaign.
And how much was Titanfall?
It's the same price.
Exactly.
Price point. Yeah, and I'm saying I feel that's where it's going now, and
Right.
they've wanted to do it for a while,
Right.
but nobody had the balls to do it, except for these guys, Respawn.
Mm.
And one, I mean, just to put a little history perspective on it. These guys created Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare,
Right.
and then they got fired.
Right.
and then they went to go do their own shit, and it was like, come on,
Right.
and
We'll buy you.
we'll buy you and we'll give you free reign. And basically, they took off. They took off with it, and it's a great thing for the genre of that type of game, because again, a lot of people don't play those first person campaigns. I do.
Yeah.
Um, and their campaign, like I said, pseudo campaign that's based on multiplayer, is a cool thing. I wish it was fleshed out more, but it's the way it works is you go through these maps like you would in your multiplayer, and there's a story playing in the background.
Right.
And so whether you win or lose, the story still plays out.
I've played a game just like that, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell that was. And that was a long time ago. But anyway, I mean, it kind of breaks down into also like what is the value of a game and the actual gaming economics. You know, like is this if they start doing this, is this still a $60 game?
And that was my biggest concern when I got it, because I was like, man, I really don't play that much multiplayer.
Right.
The most, like, I was a big Halo person when it came out. That was probably the multiplayer I played the most out of anyone.
I think same here too.
It was like Halo 2, Halo 3, and then I kind of gave up on 4.
Right.
But it was it was cool, and I liked it, and it kept the game going. But now just to put that B side, make it an A side, the main selling point of the game is the thing I think a lot of people were hoping for.
I have a point to make right after I ask Mike about from
Well,
the sports perspective.
Well, before we get to that, I mean, just real quick, because you also get more. I feel like you get more maps and things out of it too, instead of just the 3 or 4 maps.
Oh, you
would
mean from the
normally get
multiplayer?
from the game, because
Right.
they're cutting out the campaign.
Right.
They're able to put more content for multiplayer on there.
Right.
So, anyways.
Okay, so Mike, let's just move away from the first person shooters, right? It could be any other genre. And if you were to get an online only game, like do you feel like it would be still worth $60 or should they sell that at a lesser price point?
I mean, if they give you enough content and maps, sure, why not?
Just to play it online?
People are doing that anyways.
And see, for the multiplayer games, I think the main multiplayer game that I've played every single time was Gears of War. But
Right.
I would actually play the campaign, like, okay, I'm done with this.
And the campaigns were fun. Like
Yeah.
they were definitely worth the amount of money that you spent on it.
Well, it was mainly the story, right? I mean, it was based on that story,
Right.
and then the multiplayer was
Well,
an afterthought.
The thing that was so interesting about let's use Gears of War campaign, and this ties into a lot of campaigns, is that they put you in all these interesting scenarios that a multiplayer game can't do, because to make it consistent, you have to play with these other players, So, for example, Gears of War could have you like, shooting things while falling down from a building or whatever, and then this monster comes out and starts attacking. You have to take down this huge monster. To make just for sake of stability and consistency and fairness, you're not really able to incorporate that into a multiplayer game online, effectively. So I feel like you are missing a lot of that experience. For example, like the infamous airport scene that was in Call of Duty, to have that effect, you can't make a multiplayer out of that. Or hell, you can't even make a multiplayer out of The Last of Us and have that same effect as well.
Right. I mean, there's always going to be a place for a narrative, and those games will exist. I don't think they're going away.
And what I mean by
Some
narrative,
people think they are going away. Some people are saying, there's no need for story anymore.
right?
Nah.
That's what Titanfall is basically trying to portray.
No, I mean, with those games like Call of Duties and Battlefield, I don't believe there needs to be a story for those games.
Well, I'm
Because
not.
those games are just,
I'm not
cops and
dwelling-
robbers, basically.
No. I'm not dwelling in the narrative. I mean, hell, like the idea of scenarios. Okay,
Right.
so if you want another example, let's take like the Metal Gear Solid series. Okay, so they've had their multiplayer, and I've played their multiplayer. I think it was on Metal Gear Solid 3. It was fun as hell. So you're basically playing like King of the Hill or something like
Right.
that, and sneaking missions between people. But when you actually play the campaign, it's making you do all kinds of crazy shit, right?
Right, but the difference between those games and this game is that usually like Gears of War, Assassin's Creed,
Okay.
Metal Gear, all those games, those multiplayer are they're not their main focus. They're a second thought after that.
Okay.
When it comes to Battlefield, Duty, I'm not gonna say Titanfall, but those two major, they have two teams working on it. They have one working on the narrative, and they also have the major one working on the multiplayer because that's where they get all their money
Okay.
from. You're paying another $20 just for a season pass for all the maps.
Okay. Because you're totally right. I would throw this at you. So like the Uncharted series, okay?
Right.
They hang their hat on both the campaign and the multiplayer.
But mainly, like when you see everything, they're not promoting the multiplayer.
Because the
Okay, I see what
multiplayer
you're
has
saying.
kind of sucked, except for the last one.
Well, yeah, I mean, and a lot of people love it. And don't
Mhm.
worry, I'm not insulting you guys. I'm just saying that when they promote it, they're not saying, "Hey, the
Right.
multiplayer." When you see Call of Duty,
Right.
they're promoting the multiplayer.
Right, that's true.
Even the commercials
That's
now
very
are
true.
promoting the multiplayer.
Because they're showing multiple people like going around shooting things like actual real
right.
actors.
When you
doing
see
it.
an ad for Uncharted, they're showing the story, how involved it is.
Okay. All right. So basically, in so many words, you said it's kind of preposterous for them to say, "All right, games are just gonna go away from campaigning," and they're just going.
There are certain games that I think will only focus on multiplayer,
and
like Call of Duty.
and there's
I
only
see,
some games that are only going to focus
I
on
totally
narrative.
see next Call of Duty not having a campaign, just simply because they don't need one. Most people don't touch it. It's a
Okay.
waste of their money on that. If
Okay.
they can come up with better maps and a better multiplayer.
And that argument is solid because what I was going to say earlier is that it ties into sports games. Okay, sports games have been doing that for over a decade already. They don't really have a campaign. So if you were to, now it's a two-part answer to this, but whenever you have like a multiplayer, is it still worth the $60? People pay for Madden every year.
Yeah.
For that aspect.
Same people probably buy Call of Duty. The same exact
Exactly
people.
with the same pop collars, some from the same fraternities. Okay, and that's what's so interesting about that is that douchebag. And that's what's so interesting about that is that market is already there, and Call of Duty is probably like, hey, we're getting so many people. This is great. Where are they coming from? And EA is over there like, yeah, you're a bunch of dipshits. This is the same market. They're basically probably doubling their money because they own both Battlefield and the Madden series. Now, to the second answer to that is like, could it survive being online only?
Could multiplayer survive? Does it have to be online only?
No, because a lot of sports games are local multiplayer.
Oh, you're saying sports games?
Well, just games in general.
Because multiplayer has to be online.
You mean for first-person shooters?
Yeah, I mean
Wait,
multiplayer.
you already forgot about the GoldenEye days?
Oh, so we're traveling back to '96.
Yes. Whenever I set a fundamental
98.
argument, we are using all aspects. No, you're totally right. But it's like, let's say if it was, I guess, like Mario Party, or
That's Nintendo, though.
how is that like an asterisk?
Well, why is it an asterisk? You tell me, why is the Nintendo an asterisk every time you say it, but when I say it's an asterisk?
Because they are weird. No, they're strange in their business policies, but as far as games, I'm talking about like just like a party game. Okay,
Nintendo has always been a living room console with people there playing it. It's never they're the way they promote their multiplayer games has always been
okay.
family oriented.
So
it's never been get on your line. I mean, they had the friend codes forever, and that was horrible. They finally got rid of it.
Let me use a better example. Let's say like Rayman Legends. Okay, so it has this multiplayer aspects, but it was incorporated so you could play with friends there. I haven't played the last one, so I don't know if it's where you can play online.
I don't think everything's going to go that way. I think it's mainly going to be first-person shooters that are going to actually go into multiplayer only.
But will that work in other genres? Say, like, if you have Rayman Legends where you can only play multiplayer
they're
online.
slowly pushing it. Like, you mentioned Dead Rising, where people can just jump into your game and play. They did that with the other zombie game. I can't remember where somebody else could jump into your game.
Resident Evil. Resident Evil 6, I believe,
Did they?
did it. I think so.
No, there was I can't remember.
You're probably
Dead
think-
Island. Dead Island.
Oh, right.
You could just automatically jump into somebody's game. Dead Souls. I think you can
Dark
do
Souls?
that. Dark Souls.
Yeah, but it's more like they jump in to fuck you up.
It's a bunch of dead things. Anything with a dead in there, they're trying it out.
You could jump in and kill them.
Basically, you can try anything with zombies, and they're okay with it.
Right.
Dying Light probably is gonna be the same way.
Most
So
likely,
yeah. So I don't. I just first-person shooters. I see that the Respawn did a great thing, and they evolved the genre because Call of Duty was getting stagnant. And
Well, no, first of all, the whole idea of Titanfall is cool. That's a fucking cool concept.
it's a great. Even the
Right.
graphics aren't that great, and the matching is not that.
I heard they fixed that.
They're working on it, or maybe they did. But
Take a hammer beat on it.
but the thing is, here's my problem with Titanfall. I mean, just a minor review is that you go up to level 50, and then you can what's called regen, basically start all over, and you get this little tag, basically. Regen 1, Regen 2, Regen 3.
To increase playability, I guess.
Yeah, and so you can go up to Regen 10, and then it caps you off. That you can't do that any more than that. And I just after that, I mean, I don't. They're not really giving you anything once you regen, or at least I don't. Feel
That's the argument for like online play to be, the forefront. To be successful is that people want to keep playing because they want to play with their friends.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I play, because I'll get on with people at work, and then,
right.
well, I'll play a couple of levels, but I don't play all day.
But here's the funny thing is like Call of Duty and all these folks are trying to put in these prestiges and these levels for you to match rank with other people. Boy, it can only go so far. You're not gonna be like World of Warcraft where you're like.
But there are people that want that. And I'm sure they'll probably
they'd be off to it,
raise
whatever.
up the cap for regens as well.
Right.
And I just with the multiplayer aspect, I feel that since now that's gone, the first person perspective. I'm sorry, this first person storyline that's probably going away. I don't know what they're besides just paying a season pass for it. I don't see it, and I see it burning out really quick.
Do you still think it would be $60? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and you might.
I agree. I think it'll still be $60, but I'm into really story-driven games, so
So it's all based on like what your preference would be.
I could even see them go up to $70 or $80 if they're like, hey, $80 gets you a year pass as well. Again, automatically just one buy.
And this would lead to another topic like later down the line. It's like, hey, how about you just have a better variation of what OnLive was doing, where you just have a game online and you just pay like a yearly pass and then just fucking go in there and play online games, and play with other friends and whatever. It can be Titanfall online. Just deal with that, because obviously that hasn't been done before. MMORPGs,
What I would personally find cool is if they fleshed out the campaign aspect of it, of the multiplayer, and say there was a second story with the multiplayer. That would actually get me excited, because I learned more about the world and I get new levels out of it.
I was reading a book like a long time ago about like the kind of these gaming philosophies, and I'm sorry if you guys know what the book is because I forgot the title. But it's basically like they measure that people enjoy more playing with each other against a greater foe rather than fighting each other.
I like playing with myself.
And then there's the outlier.
Sorry,
of that.
I was just.
No, he's totally being serious. In fact, he's doing it right now off camera. Anyway, so any last thoughts on?
It'll be interesting. Like I said, I have a feeling Battlefield, Call of Duty. I don't know if there will be a Battlefield this year, but Call of Duty, they're going to move away from that campaign. It's gone. I mean, the last campaign story wasn't that great. It was kind of all over the place and made no sense.
Well, that's all their campaign.
And they're always up to 11, so just get rid of it and just go toe to toe with Titanfall.
Okay. And you might
agree.
Agree to disagree.
I was gonna say I
Sure.
agree to disagree.
Agree to agree.
I agree. I actually believe that, and I'm gonna get probably shit for this. I actually believe fighting games are gonna go in that area pretty soon.
I don't see that.
Why is that?
Multiplayer only. Because most
I do. Yeah,
Most-
totally. He called it like with what's it called?
Killer Instinct?
Killer Instinct now.
well, it's not multiplayer only.
It doesn't have a storyline.
I don't know. I haven't touched it.
It doesn't.
Well, it's a most fighting games don't. It's just you
No,
fight.
no.
Some games do.
No,
yeah.
actually, a majority of fighting games out there have a storyline. Like
But I mean, the
Mortal,
Killer
Mortal
Instinct-
Kombat actually was known for its like elaborate storyline, like its retelling of Mortal Kombat.
Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, Street Fighter,
Tekken didn't really have much of a storyline.
Tekken does have a storyline, but it's so fucked up that nobody cares.
I'm sure Killer Instinct has something, but I don't pay attention to it. I don't pay attention to that.
But it's not multiplayer only.
Okay.
But I think most people buy those games for multiplayer.
Right.
Like, I think when you buy Killer Instinct or you buy a Street Fighter, you're going to do multiplayer.
Because I believe this is what's going to happen. They're going to have it where there's modes where you can practice online, right? Because Tekken actually had something like that. You can practice online before your match. You practice online, and then you just fight people online. And because that's really what people want to do is just fight other humans. You know, they don't want to beat up on a computer because
Well, I mean, the way I would agree with Mike on that on the fighting games is if you have a family, you have brothers and sisters, then you'll probably sit in there and play each other. But since I have neither,
that's the same argument with the Call of Duty, saying, you know, I really enjoy storyline, but I really like Call of Duty, but
I don't know. I see others not just playing it extremely online, even having brothers and sisters. Just got the console.
I don't see the fighting games being multiplayer online only. I see it, yeah, of course, multiplayer where, you know, Andrick comes over and we're both playing, but I don't see it being online only.
Well,
I know tons of people.
We did play that shitty game that was online only.
Yeah, thanks for that. Still burning my head.
Because what was it, Spartacus?
I think so, Spartacus.
Yeah.
And it was shitty.
It was pretty shit. Well, the mechanics were shitty. It probably would have been fun if it was actually a good game. But anyway, we will talk about next what games we were playing, specifically what Mike is playing, Andrick is playing, and I was playing Excel. So we'll talk to you guys soon.